What's up, everybody? Welcome to Fantasy Sports Now. Today I want to talk to you about wide receiver targets. If you want to learn more or see more of my videos, just hit that sub button. You'll see a bunch of content for a bunch of sports. And I'm the guy who likes to jump right into the content. CBS and all these big sports networks like to take up an hour of your time to talk about five guys. And, that's not fun. So we like to make ours under 10 minutes so we can get you guys in and out with some information. So let's jump right in. Number one for me, I'm looking at Mike Evans, which is odd to me. I looked at Fantasy Pros preseason rankings, and they have him ranked number 12th overall wide receiver. That's not 12th overall player. That's 12th overall wide receiver. Now, I understand that Mike Evans' touchdown receptions were very high. I get that Godwin was out for a bit of the season, so maybe some of these numbers were inflated. But the thing to remember here is that, Mike Evans was hurt for most of the season. Mike Evans was out there playing hurt. He was constantly coming out of the game, and that was affecting him. And he still had 13 touchdowns. I expect his yards to continue to at least stay sturdy or go up. And yeah, I do expect a little regression in the touchdown category, but it doesn't mean it's going to happen necessarily. But to take him as the 12th overall wide receiver, that just seems ludicrous to me. We have, Stephon Diggs had a very good season last year, but it's one of those things that Mike Evans is doing this his whole career, and Stephon Diggs is a very good receiver, don't get me wrong. But this was the first year where he really broke out, and they have him 4, where they have Mike Evans 12. It made no sense to me. So if this doesn't change, then we need to jump on Mike Evans in that second, third round, because Tom Brady is not slowing down anytime soon. I don't know if you've noticed, Super Bowls and all that stuff. So the other thing to note, too, is this is his second year in this Tampa Bay offense, so that offense should continue to get better. I know that it's hard to imagine, but at the beginning of the year, they weren't that great of an offense, really. They were still figuring things out. This is Bruce Arians, too. This offense is going to explode year 2. So I really like Mike Evans, and I don't know why he's ranked 12th overall as a wide receiver. Next, this one actually most people have on their bust list or do not draft list. And let me tell you why I think that Michael Thomas is going to be a good pick this year. Mostly because it's all about value. Everybody's dropping him down the list, and I understand why. Drew Brees isn't there anymore. The offense is going to look a little bit different. But for me, this is like premium time to jump on a Michael Thomas. He's still an elite wide receiver, and if Jameis Winston is the quarterback in New Orleans, that dude can ball. Like, for fantasy, it's great. He just chucks it everywhere, throws 50 picks, but he'll throw 45 touchdowns. It's amazing. Winston's in year 2 in New Orleans, so I think that he's going to be okay. I think that, honestly, this is going to sound crazy to most people, but Drew Brees, if he was to play this year, I would consider dropping Michael Thomas down more than if Winston was playing. And the only reason I say that is because watching Brees last year, I love Drew Brees, but he was struggling to throw anything over the field more than, that 5-10 yard mark. It was painful almost to watch some of those games. He just wasn't able to do it. And I know who can, Jameis Winston, because he is going to chuck that ball all over the place. And the beneficiary of that is going to be Michael Thomas. The reason I have him on this list is because everybody's dropped him so far down the list that I think that there's a lot of value that can be gained there. And I'm not ready to just jump off the ship of Michael Thomas when I can get him for some pretty good value. Next is kind of similar. He's one of my guys here is Kenny Golladay. I want people to not forget, if anything, I want them to take away that Kenny Golladay was like the number 3 wide receiver in 2019. Yes, he got hurt last year. I understand that. Yes, Matthew Stafford is not throwing it to him anymore. Just drop my pen. I understand that that's changed. He's still going to play for a Giants team that's going to probably not be winning a lot of games. Daniel Jones is going to have to target him a lot. And I love everything about Kenny Golladay. He's a big guy, and I think that he can score a lot of touchdowns. I'm talking 1,200 yards, like 12 touchdowns kind of thing. And to have him up at 16 seems a little too far back there. For me, he's in my wide receivers top 10 at least. So for me, I would move him up the board, and I would even be targeting him because I think that his ceiling is as high as just about any wide receiver. And I get that there's a risk. He was hurt, but that's the trick to this. He was hurt. Dak Prospect. I can't even speak anymore. Dak was hurt. He was hurt. His ankle is healed. He's good. He should be fine. That shouldn't affect him going forward. Golladay was hurt. He should be fine going forward. So for me, Golladay is way too low on a lot of these ranks. Now that I can speak again, and I'm going to have to say Dak's name again, I want to talk about Amari Cooper. We've talked about this a couple times on this channel about Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton just isn't that guy. He doesn't fit the offensive scheme. It just doesn't work. It didn't work last year after Dak went down, and Amari Cooper, Lamb, Gallup, all of those guys just immediately tanked basically after this. Amari Cooper did score a few touchdowns down the stretch. He still had just about 1,200 yards with Andy Dalton, which is impressive to me. You get Dak back out there, Dallas is going to be a top 5 offense, and I want somebody from a top 5 offense who's going to be throwing the ball around a lot. I think the division's terrible, and I think that they're going to score a lot of touchdowns. So for me, putting Amari Cooper up at 20 seems way too low or high, whichever one you want to say. I'd put him more in that top 12 range, but I'm not taking him at top 12. I'm going to take him way out here at 20 and then and reap the benefits of that value. Cooper Kupp is another guy for me. He's one of these guys that I feel like people just forget exists. I know that sounds harsh, but in 2019, he was like the 10th ranked wide receiver, and he had not a great year. But a lot of that not a great year came from not scoring touchdowns. If you look at it here, it obviously says they scored 3 touchdowns. Almost had 1,000 yards despite having a very down season. He's 1 year removed from being an elite receiver, and he's got Matt Stafford now. So I'm telling you that, obviously Matt Stafford is way better than Goff at this point in their careers. And Matt Stafford, for me, is going to come into the Rams and take him to the playoffs, maybe make a good playoff run. And all the receivers in Rams town should be very thrilled with Matt Stafford. That offense is going to churn. It's going to be good. The defense is going to be good. They're going to have the ball a lot. So Cooper Kupp, even if he scores 3 more touchdowns and has 100 more yards, why is he, you don't believe that that's going to happen? If he had 1,000 yards and 6 touchdowns, he would not be the ranked number 31st wide receiver. That's all I'm saying, guys. So this value is very strange to me. I don't quite understand that. And that's the list here, guys, for wide receivers that I am targeting. I think every single one of them is way too high on the list. And I'd be taking them way sooner. I don't want to say sooner. If they're still there, just know the value's there in all of those guys. We'll see you next time.